The last one for the power is your rubber, possibly one of the most important ones. So because the bike's up on its center stand, it's relatively easy just to lift the bike up, and then we just run the tyre around a full rotation, just checking that there's nothing in the tyres, nothing in the grooves, and that your tyres are actually still well within the tread wear limits. These ones are relatively new, still see the little bits of rubber on the edge, and these are more than adequate. Same on the back. Again, because we've got the panniers, because it's a single side exhaust, it's a little bit awkward, but you just need to run them round just to make sure that the sidewalls are all right, you haven't got any blemishes, you haven't got any bulges, and that the main tread is fine. And just reiterating what Nikki says, it is vital that you make sure that you are seeing these bikes' lights when you start it up come on automatically. I'll just fire the bike on. So these headlights come on automatically. There's no switch gear. There's no switch gear for us to turn these lights on and off. Believe me, people still don't see this. Even though it's got all the reflective gear on, it's a huge front end, we've got the emergency lights, the emergency sirens, people still don't see us, and we've got the reflective jackets as well. So we are not invulnerable, and you guys certainly aren't as well. So make sure that your lights are on and you make yourself as visible as you can. We're just going to go and check the tyre pressures again. Your tyre pressures will be set by your different manufacturers. I don't know what your tyre pressures are on your bike, that will be down for you to check on there, but just use a recognised device to fill it up, or if you've got an air compressor at home, you should have a tyre pressure gauge. These ones are 36 front and 42 rear. So some people ask how often you should check your tyre pressures. We check them every day, and that is purely because it's an emergency vehicle and we don't know what kind of incident we're going to, so we need to make sure that our tyres are tip-top before every journey that we set out. Other people might only check them once a week at home. If your bike's been stood over a period of time over the bad weather, it's vital that you get them checked and make sure that they haven't got flat spots on them. Obviously bikes are heavy, and if you haven't got a centre stand, or if you haven't got a paddock stand and you can't rotate your tyres can lose the air pressure and actually form a bit of a flat spot, which you'll feel when you ride. A quick check of your bodywork, of your plastics, to make sure that everything's just sitting tight, sitting where it should be. Again, the last thing that you want is air at speed getting into a loose bit of fairing and pulling out, because a replacement nose cone or replacement side fairing isn't going to be a cheap affair for you to resolve. Other thing is check your brakes, check your discs, just check that there's no cracks. If you've got a, if you use a disc lock, make sure that the carriers on your discs, if you've got them, haven't been buckled. Again, that may or may not have happened on my Blackbird. Check your pads. If you can, get right down, have a good look, and make sure that there's plenty of sort of meat on the bones on the pads. It's quite difficult to see at times. You do have to get down on your hands and knees. You might have to get a little bit of a torch to have a look. And while you're down here, just if you've got a bit of cloth or anything, just run your hand underneath your brake caliper on both sides, just in this area, just to make sure that it's dry, that your brake lines aren't leaking any fluid. And again, your forks, depending upon what kind of bike you have, you might have regular forks or upside down forks. Just if it's been stood a while, just give your forks a once over, check the seals are all right, use a cloth, right, wipe it round, make sure there's no fork oil coming out again, because that will drop down. And once it gets down into these sort of areas, you're asking for trouble, because it'll get all over your discs and all over your pads, and then your braking efficiency is going to be massively affected.